Hey everyone! If you're diving into Linux, maybe studying for the LPIC-1, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to build your command line toolkit with some absolutely essential commands for handling files and text. So, let's get started. You know that feeling, right? You're staring at this giant log file, this huge data dump, and you're just trying to find one little thing. It can feel like you're searching for a needle in a haystack. But what if you had the right tools for the job?
Well, that's really the whole idea behind Linux. It doesn't hand you one giant, complicated program for everything. Instead, it gives you a whole toolbox. It's filled with these small, super powerful, single-purpose tools that you can string together in really cool ways to solve pretty much any problem.
So, here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with tools for formatting, then move on to filtering. After that, we'll check out counting and verifying your data. Then, we'll see how to tackle huge files, and we'll wrap it all up with a quick summary of your brand new toolkit. All right, first up, let's talk about tools that just help us see our data a little more clearly. These commands are great because they change how the information is shown to us, but they don't actually change the original file at all.
First in our toolkit is NL. Think about it. You're trying to talk about a specific line in a config file with someone and saying, it's the one that starts with, it's just frustrating. Well, NL solves that instantly by adding line numbers. And here's a really neat trick. By default, it's smart enough to skip numbering the blank lines, which keeps your output super clean.
Now, for those times you need to put on your detective hat, there's OD, which stands for octal dump. This tool lets you peek under the hood of a file and see its raw contents. It's an absolute lifesaver when you're trying to figure out why a file seems corrupted or just isn't acting like a normal text file. Okay, let's move on to the next tray in our toolbox. These commands are all about taking a messy file and just bringing some order to it. We're going to organize, reorder, and get rid of stuff we don't need to find exactly what we're looking for.
The sort command is just fundamental. It takes pure chaos and makes it orderly. But here's a classic beginner mistake, so listen up. If you're sorting numbers, you have to use the N option. If you don't, sort thinks they're just text and you'll get 10 coming before 2, which, is probably not what you wanted.
Next up is unique, which, as you'd guess, removes duplicate lines. But here is the single most important thing to know about it. Unique is very literal. It only removes duplicate lines if they are right next to each other. So if you have the same line at the top and the bottom of your file, unique on its own won't catch it. And that leads to this absolutely brilliant combination. And here it is. This is that whole Linux philosophy in one beautiful line. That vertical bar, that's called a pipe. What it does is it takes the output from the first command, sort, and pipes it directly into the second command, unique, as its input. This is a total game changer.
So let's break that down. First, sort does its thing, right? It goes through the file and puts all the identical lines right next to each other. Then, the pipe sends that perfectly sorted list over to unique. And now, since all the duplicates are neighbors, unique can do its job perfectly and give you a clean, unique list. It's just a beautiful example of how these simple tools work together. Okay, moving on. Now we need some tools that don't just rearrange our data, but actually give us some stats about it. And importantly, let us check that our files are exactly what they're supposed to be.
Say hello to WC, which stands for word count. If you just run WC on a file, it'll spit out 3 key pieces of info: the number of lines, the number of words, and the number of bytes. You can also get specific with options like L for just the lines or W for just the words. It's a super fast way to get a snapshot of a file.
So this is a really important idea. You download a big file, like a Linux distribution. How can you be 100% sure that every single bit and byte made it across the internet perfectly? Well, you check its digital fingerprint, which is called a checksum, or a hash.
Linux gives you a couple of tools for this. MD5sum is great for a quick check to make sure a file didn't just get scrambled during a download. But for anything that's security related, you really want to use a stronger algorithm like SHA-256sum. It creates a way more secure hash, making it pretty much impossible for anyone to tamper with that file without you knowing it.
All right, next section. What happens when the problem isn't the content of the file, but just its massive size?
This is a super practical problem, right? You've got this enormous log file that you need to send to a coworker, but it's way too big for an email attachment. You can't just send a piece of it. They need the whole thing. So what do?
The answer is the split command. It does exactly what it sounds like. It chops a big file into smaller, more manageable pieces. So for example, split-L1000 large log.txt would break your big file into a bunch of smaller files,
each with 1,000 lines. Now you can easily send those little pieces, and your colleague can put them back together. Simple.
Phew, we've covered a lot of ground. Let's do a quick recap and organize all of these new commands into our shiny new toolkit.
And there it is, your starter toolkit. So remember, these aren't just random commands. Think of them in categories. You've got tools to format your data so you can see it clearly. You've got tools to filter it down. You've got tools to get stats on it, tools to verify it's correct, and even tools to split it up. That's the real power of the Linux command line.
And that's a wrap on your starter kit for text and file commands in Linux. These simple, powerful tools are really the building blocks for solving much bigger problems down the line. The only way to get comfortable with them is to, use them. So go fire up a terminal and give one a try. Thanks so much for watching.